This week, we're talking mentorship and helping incoming students with their transition to college with peer mentor lead Martin Ladjimi, graduate assistant for first-year student success Anrae Stephenson-Frazier, and Dr. Kevin Lee. Stay tuned. Hey Honors Bulls, welcome to the Honor Roll Podcast, the flagship podcast of the Judy Genshaft Honors College Podcast Network. I'm your host, Caroline Merriman, a fourth-year student studying English and biology at the University of South Florida, and a member of the Honors College. Today, my co-host is Fabiana Requena, a third-year student studying business analytics and marketing. Welcome back.
Hi, Caroline. It's great to be back.
Great to have you as always. And we like to start the podcast off with one big question. So my question this week is, did you struggle with the transition to college your first semester?
I would say that as a transfer student here at USF, I did kind of struggle with my first semester because coming in as a sophomore, I felt as though like everybody, knew their way around campus. I felt new, like people had their friends already. So I would say that, it took me probably a semester to get used to it. But luckily I found good communities like here at the Honors College to help, make my transition a lot easier. And as for my first semester of college, I feel like everybody gets homesick. So I was far away from home at the time. And of course, everybody around you feels that way as well. So there's definitely comfort in that. What about you, Caroline?
For me, I think my first semester, it wasn't really academic struggle. I think I was very shy when I came into college, so it was really hard for me to make friends, and I would just go home and only talk to my sister and my brother. So I wasn't getting out and going to parties or doing things with friends. And so the longer I was in the Honors College, I think that helped me a lot with the small classes and things like that. And today we'll actually be talking about an Honors College program called the Peer Mentor Program that works to help first-year students kind of get their footing in their first year in college. We'll be talking to Senior Academic Advisor and Program Director of Honors Foundations, Dr. Kevin Lee, along with Anrae Frazier, the Graduate Assistant for First-Year Student Success, and Honors Student and Peer Mentor Lead, Martin Ladjimi, all about Peer Mentor Program, what it means to students, and how the program has grown over the years. All that coming up next.
Explore the world of research with the University of South Florida Undergraduate Research Portal. This centralized online portal paves the way to exciting research opportunities filled with discovery and personal growth. It will connect you with the right research lab, professors, and mentor relationships at USF. The perfect research opportunity is just one click away. Search USF Research Portal or visit the Judy Genshaft Honors College website to learn more.
Joining us today are Martin Ladjimi, an Honors Student and Peer Mentor Lead, Anrae Stephenson-Frazier, Honors Graduate Assistant for First-Year Student Success, and Dr. Kevin Lee, a Senior Academic Advisor and Program Director for Honors Foundations for the Judy Genshaft Honors College, to talk to us about Honors Foundations, the Peer Mentor Program, and how it benefits honors students at USF. Welcome to the podcast, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for inviting us. My name is Dr. Kevin Lee. Feel free to just call me Kevin. I've been at USF since 2018 and in the Honors College since 2020, serving primarily as an academic advisor. I also teach classes sometimes. And the big thing that we are obviously talking about is the Honors Foundations program that I oversee.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anrae Stephenson-Frazier. I'm the Graduate Assistant for First-Year Student Success. Currently, I'm in the Counselor Education Graduate Program, and I work alongside Kevin to kind of oversee the Peer Mentor Program and Honors Foundation. And I have only been here since 2022, so I'm going into my 2023, so I'm going into my second year now.
And I'm Martin. I am in my fourth year now at USF, studying biomedical sciences and psychology. I was a peer mentor for 1 year, and then I changed to be a peer mentor lead for 2 years after that. And now we've just passed the reins over to the next generation of PMLs, and I also serve as an RA in the Honors LLC in Juniper Hall.
Great. It's so nice to have all of you here. So, Kevin, as the program director for Honors Foundations, you lead the Peer Mentor program. And Anrae, as the graduate for first-year student success, you work alongside Kevin to guide peer mentors. For audience members who may not be familiar with some of the Honors College terminology, could you just explain a little bit about what Honors Foundation is, the class, as well as what the Peer Mentor program is?
The Honors Foundation program has been around many moons by now, and it's really to serve as a support transitions program for our first-year students, incoming first-year students. And Honors Foundations is a 10-week course led by our peer mentors, 0 credits, and it's really like a how do you adjust and transition into college? What are some like the hidden curriculum? How do you network and just acclimate to college? We have, at this point, 45 sections of foundation. So that's 45 peer mentors, roughly about 15 students per section. So it is like a tight-knit community. So as with any honors classes, you have a lot of discussion, right? So we have 9 peer mentor leads. So because 45 student leaders, that's a lot, to oversee. So we have like almost like a senior peer mentor that's kind of like helping organize a lot of our events, curriculum, and engagement. So 9, and then each group has like a pod of 4 peer mentors. So there's a lot of support, a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah, and to kind of go off of that a little bit more outside of the more programmatic aspects of Honors Foundation and peer mentorship, we also try to use the program to help the students find belonging in college, as Kevin was briefly just talking about. And some of the ways that we do that is we host events for them, we do workshops, and we try to really get our peer mentors and peer mentor leads engaged with wanting to build those deeper connections for the students, not just making it about a classroom, but making it about an experience so that they're taking away these tools and these skills that they can use in the remainder of their collegiate experience.
Yeah, I think when I was in Honors Foundations as a freshman, I think something that I really enjoyed was like the student-to-student connection, and that it is like the upperclassmen teaching the underclassmen. I think it just makes your mentor feel more accessible, like you can be more honest in the classroom. So, Martin, I heard that peer mentors do little icebreakers with their classes, and so we wanted to do one on the podcast today for all our listeners, so we'll let you take it away.
Okay. So typically, we'd start the class off and I would ask as an icebreaker, if you could have a meal with anyone who has since passed away, that's not a family member, who would you eat with and why?
My answer for this, we actually also did this in the peer mentor lead meeting one time, and I'm going to say the same answer that I said then, but I would actually do lunch with maybe like Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks, one of the former activists, just to kind of like hear about their stories, because I feel like there's something greater about being able to experience and hear it from them firsthand versus reading it in a newspaper or watching a documentary. So I would love to have those conversations.
I would select King Sejong. He is one of the probably like the famous kings in the Korean times. He created the alphabet, like the Hangul alphabet. He did so many great things, and just to be a royalty king, just that kind of timeline, I think that would be fun to just see what that was all about. So yeah.
Have you thought of yours?
I think like you should go first.
This is a surprisingly difficult,
I know,
especially if you can't say family member, because I feel like most people go to family and then you have to really think about like pop culture.
Right.
I would say for mine, maybe Anthony Bourdain. I'm really into like food and that whole industry. So I would have to say him. I know he passed away a couple years ago, and like I read parts of his book and stuff. So I think kind of just commenting on those things.
I think for me as like a creative writing student, there's a poet I really like named Edna St. Vincent Millay, and we study like a lot of her sonnets. And so I think that'd be a cool person to talk to just about like what inspired them. And she wrote kind of like later on into her life all about like, her experience with dementia and things like that. And so I think it'd be a cool person to speak to.
That's a really good answer.
It is. I like that.
Yeah. You had that one.
She just didn't want to say it first.
Yeah.
So what we found out from this icebreaker, right, is that we found a little detail from all of you without directly finding out a detail, right? So for example, we learned that Kevin is Korean, and we learned that Fabi is really into learning about different food and people who are very important in food culture. And so these are all great aspects that we can take on from one another, and maybe that can strike a conversation after class, right? And we can see, such and such really appreciates this niche hobby or this kind of art style, right? And maybe that's a connection that can be made. So that's why we always do our icebreakers with our students. It helps out a lot.
It's kind of like when you go in for an interview and they ask you, tell me about yourself. It's like asking that, but in a super indirect manner, because you actually get to learn like a little bit about somebody that you might not typically learn from an interaction like that. So now that we are all warmed up, my real question for you, Martin, is having worked as a peer mentor, how would you describe your experience? What made you want to be a peer mentor?
Truthfully, I remember my first week at USF, and my peer mentor was great from day one. And dealing with, that was in the COVID year kind of, so we were still opening back up, and then we would shut down for 2 weeks if somebody in the class got COVID. So even seeing how my peer mentor was able to juggle teaching in person 1 week and then shifting to online really quickly the week after, it really impressed me. And also seeing all the effort she put into her classes and the activities and all that, and seeing how I realized I really did enjoy going to a 0 credit class on a Friday morning at 8 a.m. And that's the experience with some of our students too. And initially they look at their schedule in Oasis or student self-service, and they think, oh, I don't want to take this class Monday at 8 a.m. This is the first class I'm ever taking and it's 0 credits. Why? So I wanted to make my students, and also for the program too, I wanted to make them feel that they could enjoy the class and have a good time and meet people, rather than just think about trying to do assignments and have it not count for anything. So
they probably would be super into it if you did do the collaboration seminar class at 8 a.m. and just taught all of them at the same time.
Right. That was one of like our running jokes for the last 2 years, that we would teach all the sections of Honors Foundations in Yingling and have all 700 and some odd honor students at 8 a.m. on Monday and just get it out of the way.
Yep.
But I think it's a really unique experience that you don't get outside of honors, and that you might not get at other schools, really, is that you are getting that experience of a student who may be older than you, but who has been in your shoes, getting to be there with you, getting to guide you, rather than a professor who, might be older, a different generation than you, but somebody who really understands you and the student experience.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
And I always liked the small class size, because it just seemed to me like it wasn't just about like getting, mentored by your peer mentor, but also like about getting to know the other students, which is so hard your first semester with so many people coming from out of state, or just like, maybe if you're shy or something like that. And I think that was something that really helped me. Have you had any like surprising moments in class, or just like really funny, bizarre moments, things that have happened?
Every year I always have at least one student that goes, wait, you're a student here? Like they're always like, even though I say it on the first day, right? I'm in my first year, or I'm in my second year, third year, fourth year, whatever it may be at USF. Still, someone is going to say in the class, you're a student here? And they always get surprised. And I'm like, do I really look that much older than you all? So that's like my reality check of the week. But that's probably like usually the most surprising moment.
And then can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to transition from a peer mentor to a peer mentor lead?
So being a peer mentor, right, this was when we sit in our pods, right, with our peer mentor lead, and we work on making our lesson plans, and it's kind of, here's your curriculum, here's what's given. And I had a lot of ideas about what I wanted to change, right? And I saw that that's what the peer mentor lead position did. And that was the year that Kevin was starting out. So I said, you know what, fresh start, let's apply to be a PML, let's see how it goes. And I ended up getting it. So that transition was a lot more different than I thought it would be, because we were already pretty independent as peer mentors. We're writing our own lesson plans. We're getting them evaluated from each other as peers, rather than up the hierarchy of the PML. It was the other peer mentors were checking our lesson plans. And that was something that was very interesting, because you had to learn very quickly how can you give feedback in a positive manner and have somebody listen to you and respect what you're saying and be respectful back. So then transferring over to the PML role, we were now presenting ideas on how can we change the curriculum for 700 people instead of 18 people or 17 people in the classes, or 14 people in the classes. So that was a really big adjustment, because we wanted it to be perfect, right? We wanted to make sure every stone had been turned, every detail was done. So we did a lot of work. It was a lot more work than being a peer mentor, I think, our first year. And when I entered my second year as a PML, Kevin and I kind of had a conversation, and we said, okay, we are not going to redo the entire program again between this year and next year. There is not really a need to. We can make minor adjustments, but at this point, like, we've made it into something that is up to speed, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's updated. And now what we can do is we can focus our efforts on providing more detail, making sure all of our links 100% work, right? Because sometimes that happens halfway through the semester, a link breaks or an assignment ends up not working out. We can catch that before it's too late.
Yeah, I think the great opportunity for this kind of program is that even though I am overseeing it, it's not just for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really allowed the students, the PMLs, to take ownership of their experiences. And as Martin said, when he was starting as an incoming PML and I was transitioning into this role, they were like, yeah, let's just change the whole thing. I'm like, okay, if that's what you want to do. Like, I obviously, if I'm not, the analogy that I give, I'm not going to throw, a student into like a, deep end or like the ocean without some sort of like flotation device. I'm there to support you. So as they were thinking of ideas, I would be like, yeah, let's not do it that way. Or how about, let's think about it this way. But yeah, they wanted to rehaul the whole thing because they've experienced it, right? They knew what to experience, what to expect, and kind of how to make it more meaningful, right, for the students. So, you know what? Let's just give it a try. And it worked out really well. And because like Martin said, we didn't want to change up too much the following end. So like kind of fine tuning it a little bit. And hopefully it'll just stick with that unless there's some big change that needs to happen. But really let the students take ownership of it.
More work than was required of them.
We are in the honors college, so that is a common, theme. So
I will say I thought it definitely sounded crazy because the way the graduate assistant contract works is you come in the middle of the year. And so they already decided this. And when I came on board, like they were like, yeah, we rehauled everything. And Martin was like, it was so much work. And I'm like, that sounds crazy that you guys decided to do this. But I mean, just going off of what both of them were saying, like, I do think it was necessary. I think the program and the shifts that they were able to make 2 years ago has kind of set a really good foundation for the Honors Foundation programming moving forward. And so I think that Martin and the team that he had for curriculum and Kevin, like they did really good work, and I don't think any big changes need to be made in the future.
So since you all have had a lot of experience, like, around the peer mentors or yourself being a peer mentor, what do you think makes a good peer mentor? What are those qualities that you guys are looking for in a leader?
That's a really good question. Just reflecting on it, there's not like a cookie cutter, peer mentor that we want. You take the honors college population. There's a lot of students that want to be engaged, lots of great ideas. I mean, we have the cliche because I, advise a lot of the science students that we have a lot of science students as well, right? Pre-med and all that stuff. So you have the I guess some stereotypes of what you would think to be an honors student. So I think there is that balance of, yes, we want students that are kind of like other students as well to kind of connect, but also have students that are just not the typical, right? It'd be nice to have some international students, out-of-state students, different majors, different backgrounds, all that stuff. I think the question of what makes a good peer mentor is, as you are applying, as you are being your authentic self, then how does a team work together, right? Because this is not just an individual role, this is a team effort. So as long as you're being authentic in who you are and you're selected, then let's see how the team dynamic can, connect and flow. So it's, I guess, if you had to have a trait, it's people that can work well with other people, right? And we have also, you're going to be teaching, you're going to be doing a lot of leadership stuff. So having good etiquette and professionalism in that sense. But for me, what I like to see is like, okay, how can this whole team work together and kind of support like the bigger, purpose of what this, foundations is about.
And to kind of add on to what Kevin is saying about being able to come together as a team, I think part of being a leader is being able to know how to use your skills and work it with someone else's skills to be a part of a team. And so oftentimes I think it's important to look for leaders, to look for openness and willingness to grow when it comes to leadership, because we're not only looking for people who can automatically be cohesive and automatically work in a team, but we're looking for people who want to learn and are willing to grow and adapt and develop, because we can teach you how to work in a team, but we can't do it if you're coming in and you're like, I have my way, I just want to do this and get out and all of that. So I think it's very important to have your intentions in the right place, be open, be adaptable, and as Kevin said, understand that this is a team effort. Like 45 peer mentors, 9 peer mentor leads, none of us are doing this alone. We all support each other and rely on each other to make the program great.
And from what you all have observed, can you tell us what typical challenges for first-year honor students, what they typically face?
The biggest one, probably homesickness. A lot of them, and I see this too as an RA, a lot of them get homesick. A lot of them, they were thinking about high school and how high school was for them, and now they're in college. So what's nice with Honors Foundation is that these classes are small. It's a little bit smaller than probably your average high school class, but it's kind of bridging that gap between maybe having 30 people in a class to having 300 people in a lecture hall learning chemistry, Chem 1 on day one, right? Jumping right into content. So it's kind of helping bridge that gap. And I think that really helps a little bit of the homesickness issue that we see in first year students.
I think I've also seen, both the professional lens of email etiquette and communication. The amount of times that I would be working with peer mentors, because I would get like students of concern. Oftentimes it would be, I didn't check my email. I wasn't, checking the due dates and all that stuff. So it does take some time to kind of adjust to, you're getting a lot, but you have to learn how to check emails, respond properly, professionally, in a timely manner. Do not expect, professionals to like overnight just email you, right? So there are some etiquettes that, people are learning. So I think in the professional lens, that is one thing. And I think another aspect especially for honor students specifically, kind of what Martin was mentioning a little bit, the transition from also high school to college, you may be the valedictorian, salutatorian, the top of your class, but now you're coming to college at, in honors where everyone kind of is the top of their class. So the idea that I have to be better than someone else or, that I just have to succeed and do even more. So sometimes I have seen first year students just take on a little bit more than they can handle. So that has been a challenge, just trying to coach them, saying, hey, you have all 4-ish years. You don't have to jump in day one.
And that was actually going to be my answer, is that I think the first year students struggle the most with balance, because part of my role, I had to do a lot of midterm intervention stuff with the first year students. And when I would have these conversations with them, it was always the same thing. It was, I lost track of my grades or let them slip because I didn't know how to handle everything at once. Either they didn't have a good planning, they didn't know how to keep up with 4 or 5 classes in one semester. And so it's so important to know that you don't have to take everything on at once, like Kevin was saying. Yeah, so just follow the plan that you set out with your advisor, with your family, and take it one step at a time, knowing that 4 years is enough time to experience all of the various things that you want to experience.
My name is Lindy Davidson. I am the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in the Judy Genshaft Honors College on the Tampa campus. If you're thinking about joining the Judy Genshaft Honors College, don't do it. Don't do it unless you are really interested in growing, because this is a place where people grow. So come here, bring your ideas, bring your perspectives, but you should expect that other people's perspectives and ideas are going to be different from yours. You're going to learn from them, and you are going to grow with them. This is a space of collaboration, and growth can be really challenging. So if you're up for that, please come and join us.
So we've talked a lot about the relationship between the mentor and students. What do you guys how do you hope this impacts students and the mentors as well?
The almost 15 years that I've been working in higher ed, and I've been at different institutions, there are a lot of universities that have a first year seminar type course. It is considered a high impact practice experience that, again, really helps transition students, because we have first generation students out of state, international, people that have never experienced this. So jumping in, that's a lot of work, right? So what I was able to do is kind of bring in all the best practices. What are things that we don't teach in class that are the practical life skills that are needed and kind of put it in a format that works, right? So I would say that's something that I want to still continue, is that we have so much changes that are constantly happening, right? Right now we have an anxious anxiety, generation, right? We have social media that is changing, every day. It's important to make sure that we are constantly changing, updating the curriculum to make sure that we are supporting what the students need, but also hear from them. So we're taking like best practices and also student feedback to see how can we make this kind of their experience, right? Again, I constantly talk that this is not about me. This is about the students. So that's kind of what I want this program to continue, and have the peer mentors be kind of like the front of the lines. Like, what are you actually seeing, right? I'm not that older, from students, but it's nicer to hear from students' point of view. So that's what the peer mentors have really been helping out with.
To your point, Kevin, about this being like an anxious generation, I think that having a mentor can be super important. So how do you think that affects both mentors and like the younger students?
Being a higher education professional and academic advisor, you would think that advisors only just tell students what classes to pick. No. There's a lot of times that we are helping with some of like the crisis management. I don't know what to do with my life. I'm not getting an A, in class, all of the things that, typical students are anxious about. So obviously I am supporting as much as I can for my peer mentors and the students, but also being like the role model. I had a peer mentor recently tell me that I have like a grounded, aura and personality. So it's also important that professionals are, yes, I am very anxious at times too, but, at work, I also have to put on that, grounded personality, that giving that role model for the peer mentors to say, okay, so this is how Kevin is acting in front of students. I want to kind of emulate that as well to make sure that I'm supporting my students as well. So there is that role model aspect of it, but also just checking in with the peer mentors. So the peer mentor leads have one-on-one with me and Anrae on a regular basis. We open it up for the peer mentors to meet with us as well. So that check-in does help in purposely training them during the summer and continuing training them in the fall of these. How do you handle students of concern? Students that are maybe MIA or need additional support. So there is that constant support and training for them.
Yeah, I think it's nice that you and Anrae are both so hands-on with the peer mentors, because it's not really like a role where someone can really train you how to do it. It's like no one can really train you how to teach or how to be in a classroom or how to handle like an interpersonal conflict. And I'm sure it gives them a lot more confidence in the classroom or just in any interactions with their students. In recent years, the peer mentor program has expanded a lot. As you mentioned earlier, there's now 45 peer mentors and 9 PMLs. Could you just talk a little bit more specifically about how the program has changed since you guys started?
One quick thing that did change within the probably like 2-3 years ago is that the Sarasota Manatee campus does have one section of foundations. St. Pete doesn't have one yet. So we have 2 peer mentors, are kind of like an official like returning and new peer mentor that kind of support that campus. So that's slightly new from when we did consolidate.
And then for me, like I said, I did come in pretty much a semester behind Kevin. So he started this without me, and then they brought me in to join. And from my first semester to where we are now, I've seen the program grow in a lot of ways. I think that Kevin and I and the peer mentor leads have worked really hard to ensure that we are putting our best foot forward and making sure we are preparing peer mentors and creating intentional events for the students to find belonging in the college. And I wasn't here for the programming before Kevin, but I do know that it was slightly different from as far as like how hands-on things were. And so I think that the hands-on approach is good. I think that the students have definitely been able to take a lot of good things away from that. And I'm excited to see where the program continues to go, even beyond us with the foundations that we've set.
Yeah, and Anrae didn't even talk about like half the things that she has been able to do, because in the past, it has just been the program director that kind of oversaw everything. So in addition to our advising role, this is like our secondary role as well, supporting this initiative. But we needed help. We needed a lot more hands-on, and Anrae's graduate assistant role really provided a lot of the intervention, like additional support during midterms, and as well as a lot of the programmatic aspects to really engage students outside of the classroom. So that, her role was very intentional, and there's still a lot more to grow. So we'll see how, the future will play out.
I think there's definitely always room to improve with anything that you do. So it's really nice that you guys are always looking for ways. And like Kevin, you were saying that you look for feedback from the students. I think that's super important, really, for any long-term project. I also wanted to talk about the fact that the peer mentors have been on Instagram. As part of the marketing team, we always see your guys' funny reels. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about that and how this has had an impact on students' interest becoming PMLs?
Okay, so actually, our Instagram has existed for a couple of years now, but we didn't have a high priority for it, I would say, and it wasn't until fall semester, really like the summer, last spring type, where I had a conversation with Kevin, and I was like, hey, like I think we're missing a great opportunity to have outreach here because my first year event attendance was pretty low amongst the students. And so I was like, how can we get them more involved? How can we help make sure that they are feeling like they can interact with us even beyond the classroom? Because peer mentorship is only 10 weeks, right? Or Honors Foundation is only 10 weeks. And so I was like, Kevin, we should bring back the Instagram. Kevin did not like the idea. He hated it. He was like, I don't know about that. Martin also was not a big fan of the idea. And I was like, well, we're going to take a vote and we're going to see how we're feeling towards it because I think we can do this. We should try. And I brought it back to the group and we decided we would do it as a trial run. And Martin came up with the great idea of us pre-setting and pre-planning posts. And he was like, I think we can do this, but only if we know what we are posting so we can record on time. And I think that made a big impact on our engagement because we were able to be on top of it. And our team of 9 peer mentor leads, they did an amazing job of coming up with ideas. Kevin has been blowing up our phones with TikTok and real ideas. And it just kind of took off.
To clarify, I didn't hate the idea. It was more of who's going to take ownership of the idea, and I don't have the time. But we did have a lot of, people that were wanting to do it, so that definitely helped.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't even have an Instagram account until about 6 months ago. So, and I like Anrae said, I was very adamant about if we want to do this, we're not going to start out, make 3 videos, have them be maybe mid at best, right? Because they're the first ones. The first ones might not always be that great. And then just stop. Like, it just makes us look bad. It makes us not look as professional. So, and then once everyone's kind of on board with it, then everyone turned to me and said, okay, Martin, you want to be in a video? And then I was very against it for a while, but then all of a sudden everyone wanted me to be in videos all the time. So,
hey, it can be fun. I really like that outlook though of, coming into, starting a new project, but with like a timeline or kind of like who's going to be in charge of what, because you're right. Like we can be like have really big ambitions and goals, but if we don't have somebody to plan and organize it and things can fall through the cracks, like that can be also dangerous, like you said.
Yeah. It's a lot like the Honors Foundation's program in and of itself. There's not necessarily like a manual for how to do stuff. It's kind of, we want to see this. Okay, what do we need to do to get there? So it's kind of, we kind of create our steps on the way there to achieve our goal. And
I think it's also to make light of, sometimes challenging, times. Like when you're going to class, it's just textbooks and sometimes it can, be boring or lax. I mean, all classes are great, but, you want to engage in a different way, right? So we wanted to have Instagram in a social media aspect, meet the students where they were. And the post, there's a lot of meet your peer mentor or this event here and there. But we were also having these fun trends that were happening, but making it relevant to college, to honors foundations and stuff like that. So it was still intentional, even if people didn't think it was. If we were just dancing, there was still some intentionality behind it.
Have you guys gotten any like feedback from students or other peer mentors like who enjoy the reels or who are like trying to get in there now that you guys are Insta famous?
I think sometimes, if we are posting Meet Your Peer Mentors, it might be like, okay, who had the most likes and comments? Which videos of Kevin actually blew up and which ones really flopped? So the students have been really engaged a lot. So that has been really, really rewarding. And even the silly times when we are taking these videos and, during our peer mentor training, it's like, you can see like the fun in people, right? That they are laughing. And sometimes I'd be like, hey, I want to do this, trend. And some of the peer mentor leads are like, are you sure? But it's still fun, right? So, and I'm not, it is, yes, attracting the audience for, the students. But sometimes, there are other professionals, other, accounts that I'm like, oh, wait, we did that first. And they copied us after that. So
It's because we're famous.
Because we are famous.
For a short period of time, we were like having the same ideas as you guys.
Yes.
And we were like, who's selling them? Like our ideas, we literally have these. Yeah, we have these written down, and you guys post a day earlier, and then up goes our post. Like,
and at that point, it's too late to change.
yeah,
So,
it is.
yeah.
We're like, what are we gonna do?
So we do want to ask, do each of you have a favorite memory from the program or from working with peer mentors or students?
I would say for me, it is seeing the aha moments from the students. We have that, like I said, we have such a diverse group of students that some of them, this is, easy transition. And then you have the polar opposite of, I really need a lot of support, right? So no matter where, a student may be on that, scale, just seeing the aha moments, stopping by some of the foundation classes, some of them are my advisees, or if I'm meeting them at events, that they have that smile, they have that engagement. A lot of the feedbacks that we would get, I do read them all. So reading some of them of like, my peer mentor was, great because XYZ, or thank you for providing this kind of space, XYZ, right? So for me, it's seeing the reward that comes from the students that really kind of continues to fuel this for me. In addition to the peer mentors, a lot of times it becomes like a little, family, BFF group that, we're going to be in context, for hopefully a long time, right? So I will specifically say that for the peer mentor lead group, every year we do have like a end of the year celebration, lots of crying, lots of gifts, lots of cards. And it is that when a simple, Kevin, you made an impact because XYZ, ooh, I'm getting emotional, that it really does kind of provide that, what I'm doing is meaningful, right? A personal anecdote for me was this past fall, I did get my, PhD. So the peer mentors and some of my students from, other spaces, they did a little flash mob. And I did not know it was coming. But when I came in, I had a mix of a smile and tears. I'm like, wow, they were part of this experience with me. And that for them to say, hey, Kevin, you did a great job too. Like, I'm like, I should be the one saying great jobs to students, not, them to me. So getting that reward, I think would probably be like the culmination of the past couple of years for me.
For me, I think, so I have a favorite memory, but I also have just favorite part about being in this program. And I guess I'll start with that, but going off of what Kevin was saying when it comes to the meaningfulness of the things we do, for me, I really enjoyed watching the peer mentors grow. We talk about the students and the growth and the development they have in finding their way, but we're taking a group of 45 peer mentors and peer mentor leads who are only second, third, and fourth year students and honestly don't have it all figured out, right? And we're helping them become professional young adults who are about to go into the world and do great things. And like Kevin said, it's just, there's something about knowing that you are able to help guide somebody along that path that just brings you peace and like allows you to know like the work you do matters. And I think that it's great because there's so many peer mentors who Kevin has written letters of recommendations for and who have come to me for advice or have gone to the peer mentor leads for things. And now everything's just clicking and making sense for them, whether they've graduated or they're still here. And it's so great to watch that. And then for my favorite memory from the program, this one's more related to peer mentor leads, But we put a big emphasis on team building this year. And we decided to go karaoke, do karaoke at this place I don't remember the name of. I don't know if one of you remember the name. No? Okay. So this random place where we did karaoke, and I didn't think I was going to sing much or that anyone else would sing much, but admittedly, all of us ended up singing. We were able to make fun of each other. Martin did a great reenactment of Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. And then me and Kevin got to do some collaborations, and it was just a genuinely good time of us building memories and just being ourselves.
It's so hard to find, one memory, but kind of talking about the best part of the experience overall, like Anrae and Kevin were talking about, is seeing the students at the end of the year when they start to warm up to you and get a little bit more comfortable with their environment and their school and all that. And they start asking you questions that aren't really related to the curriculum. It's like, where do you like to eat around here? Like, where do you like to go? What do you do outside of campus for fun? Or anything like that that's not really related to school. You kind of start seeing that gap. Seeing that gap bridge from, oh, I'm your instructor, to we're the same age. I'm giving you information. I'm helping you, guide you. It's always a great thing to see. I guess one of my favorite memories would have to be when we did that escape room, and we had finally found a time that all of us, we were able to work it out and all be there. And it was the first time I had done an escape room, and I can get claustrophobic sometimes. So when I can't see where I can go out, it can be a little nerve-wracking. And the entire time I was working very hard with our team, trying to figure out the clues, how to get out and everything. I wasn't even thinking about, oh, I'm trapped in this room, right? I can't get out of this room even if I wanted to right now. But I didn't even think about that. I was focused more, forming connections with the team, trying to work together, trying to find a solution. So, and that's when I really realized that I really do enjoy what I do. It doesn't matter where I'm at or what I'm doing. I'm going to find a way to make a fun time out of it.
And Martin, I think that's kind of a testament to our lives in college, where we're all really busy and, working, going to class, but we might feel trapped by all those things and overwhelmed. But you have that community, those people around you to say hey, these people can calm me down. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that. Our last thing to wrap everything up is, if students are listening and want to become peer mentors, when will applications be open? What's the process like?
Yeah, applications will go live on Friday, January 31st. We will open it up for about 2 weeks. The link will be on our website. We've been getting a lot of applications, so make sure that you are focusing on the application as well. So once we review it, we will select the people that we do want to interview. And from there, you will have probably an hour interview. It'll be a mix of group interview process and then one-on-one. And then if you're selected, you could be one of the 35 peer mentors for the 2025 year.
And we also will be having information sessions for those who are maybe not fully sure. And as of right now, we are planning to have those in early February, on February 6th and February 11th. So watch the screens for that update.
I did want to ask, Martin, did the PMLs get out of the escape room? Because I don't think you did.
I don't think we did.
Think you guys did.
I don't think we did.
But I think that's, that goes back to the testimony that Fabiana was saying, sometimes it might not work out.
Right.
But we'll do whatever we can to make sure it does.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's been great to hear about all that you've poured into the PMO and the PM program, and to get some ideas for people who may be interested in becoming a peer mentor. That is all that time we have today. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are back in the studio. Caroline, what did you think about the podcast today?
I really enjoyed just getting the peer mentor perspective, but also the perspective from Kevin and Anrae, who actually lead the program.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in the classroom, you don't realize how much work and intention goes into the program. So it was really cool just hearing about all the changes they've made and how much they do think about our time as students.
I really think it's also a good way to get involved here at the Honors College if you're looking for that, and like they said, grow your leadership skills, because you can think that you're a good leader, but maybe there are other ways and systems like this that can actually help you improve. So it kind of makes me want to be a peer mentor.
I think you should go for it.
Okay.
And if you're looking to apply for a peer mentorship role, don't forget to check the On-Roll newsletter and our website at usf.edu/honors for all upcoming events, updates, and news. That will do it for this week's episode. The On-Roll podcast is recorded in the Judy Genshaft Honors College at the University of South Florida Tampa campus. Production assistance is provided by honor student Sandra Napolitano and Tam Nguyen. Thank you all so much for listening. Please do not forget to rate and review our podcast. We appreciate your feedback. Please tune in next week where we hear more honor stories and talk to more members of the Judy Genshaft Honors College.
Until next time, go Bulls!